Senator Kreun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. It's my honor to present Senate File 202 today before the Judiciary Committee. This has all concerning real property and three different sections, if you will, or articles, I should say. The first is the most significant part of the bill, and I do have an author's amendment before
Senator
we get going.
Kreun moves the A2 author's amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The amendment is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Kreun.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The most significant part of this bill is relating to the partition of real property. And before I go too much into the weeds, you might be wondering what partition of real property is. That's simply the division of property among co-owners. And there's two principal kinds. There's partition in kind, where the property can be physically divided. Think agricultural land, large parcels of property such as that. And then there's the partition by sale, where the property cannot be divided. And so what this act does is basically to reflect how the parties operate in real life and to bring this partition act updated. The last bill we had, I think they said it hadn't been significantly changed in 10 years. With the Partition Act, Mr. Chair, we're looking at the last significant changes to this were in 1905. And so, now that's not always bad with real property. Sometimes the oldies are goodies and the older the better and they don't need to be changed. But in this situation, partition actions were really not very realistic. And during my practice, very rarely used unless it fit a certain type of property. So what does it do? It's more user-friendly. It's more accessible to more property owners. Basically, the order of the partition action was changed. It's more like a traditional court action now. We'll allow there to be one referee instead of three, which is a major improvement. There's more flexible provisions for costs to be paid, which is important. It does give judges in these partition actions a lot of discretion to decide these matters on a case-by-case basis. And a really big change is it allows realtors to be a commissioner, which is in line with how parties would like to currently practice. And the bonus of that is the payment of this commissioner can be the traditional commission that realtors get. So that's a really advance forward for these actions. Another big change is that a physical partition, a partition in kind, was the default under the previous act, and now that there will not be that default. So a partition by sale will likely be a more common availability to real estate practitioners. It provides more structure for the judge to follow, and it addresses everything from how to deal with liens and notification and all those things in quite some detail. And so what this does, Article 1, puts August 1st, 2025 for all actions commenced for the old act, and then this new Minnesota Partition Act for all actions commenced after August 1st, 2025. So that is the partition part of this bill, Mr. Chair. There are two other main parts of this. Eminent domain is in Article 3. This is largely a procedural matter. It's designed to provide certainty to capture the universe of the people who need notice in these proceedings. There could be multiple reports in one action, and practitioners should only have to serve the parties who have an interest in the parcel subject to that report. And there was some ambiguity in the existing law. This provides clarity and certainty. Then there's some conforming language after that. Finally, the last article, Article 4 in here, deals with transfer on death deeds. This was recently before our committee, and there were some changes that went into effect. And the whole purpose of those changes is to avoid probates. So if, for example, you have 3 joint tenants and one dies before the grantor dies, does the whole thing lapse? Do you need a probate, of the grantee? These are designed, these vehicles are designed to avoid probate, and when someone predeceases the grantor, then the remaining joint tenants should take it all. Now, that part that was before the committee before was supposed to be retroactively applied. It was not. So that fixes the oversight here, and it also makes sure that the insurance coverage question, that was really the main point of what we discussed before this committee last time, is not retroactive, and that was, really important here. So the Insurance Federation knows about this, hasn't opposed it, because we're not changing that aspect of it, which was negotiated the previous time we were here. And thanks to Senate Council, we have a draft here that we think gets at that intent. So that's my summary, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to now turn it over to my testifier, Kevin Dunleavy, who has, I don't know how many hours he's testified down here at the legislature on real property bills, but he's been a real invaluable service for many years, educating legislators on the importance of real estate law. So, and he also happens to be my boss and law partner for 16 years before I was in the Senate. So it's a real honor to have him next to me testifying in favor of this bill.
Mr. Dunleavy.
Mr. Chair, committee members, apparently I didn't yell at Mike too much, Senator Kreun too much when he worked with me, because we still are friends. And his testimony today, though, he didn't leave me much. There isn't much to add to it. I think the Partition Act is going to be a lot better than it was. It was really difficult to use in the past, and I think this will make it much easier and less expensive for people to do partitions. The eminent domain thing is also makes it more clear and less expensive for the participants in an eminent domain action, so that you don't have to give notice to everybody. You could have 100 parcels or 500 parcels, and there's only one that's on appeal, then you only have to give notice to the people involved in that particular parcel. And transfer on death deeds, I have to apologize, Senator Limmer, and to the committee that I didn't catch this last year, but I'm glad we're taking care of it this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunleavy. Are there any questions from the committee members? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak for or against this bill? Hearing none, Senator Kreun moves Senate File 202 as amended, be recommended to pass and move to the floor. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.